What if I told you with just $300, you could build a real, repeatable pathway to 10K per month day trading futures prop firms? And this is not a fantasy, not a hype, just a simple step-by-step scaling plan that actually works. And I'm so confident I know this works because at the start of this year, I used this exact same process and I actually turned a few $100s into 10K a month and eventually scaled that into a single six-figure payout. So if you're tired of blowing challenges, blowing funded accounts, struggling to get your first payout, or stuck trying to level up, in this video I'm going to give you the full roadmap to go from $300 to 10K per month. I'm going to show you exactly which prop firms to use, which accounts to buy, and how to trade those accounts, and the fastest way to scale safely. Plus, on top of that, I'm going to give you my evolution method that allows you to maximize on gains on every setup. So be sure to watch this video all the way through to the end so you don't miss out on anything. All right, cool. So how do we go from $300 to 10K per month? Well, the very first thing, and that's probably one of the most important things, is picking the right prop firms. Because if we don't pick the right prop firms and we pick prop firms that may be a bit too expensive, one, that's going to fall out of our budget of $300. So that means that what I'm actually going to show in this video is not going to be as useful. So we need to pick prop firms that are priced at the right price that allow us to be able to maximize on the possibilities with them. And just by using the right prop firms and by using the scaling technique when we get to funded, which I'm going to show a bit later on in this video, you're going to be able to maximize what you can do with that $300 and actually be able to scale to 10K per month very quickly. And I know it sounds crazy, but I've done it. Many other people have done it. You can go from literally a few accounts to 10K per month very quickly if you do the things the right way. So the prop firms that I do recommend, which you guys to go for, and the reason why I've decided to pick these two prop firms here is because, one, they're both backed by bigger prop firms within the forex space, so that means that you're safe, you're going to get your money, you're going to get paid. And two is that both of these prop firms have two different models. And if you haven't watched my video on how to beat prop firms, I talk about picking the right prop firm for you, for your personality and your style of trading, because styles make success when it comes to trading different prop firms. So I've picked two prop firms here, Funding Ticks and Funded Next, which have very different models in regards to their challenges, and we're going to be able to see by going over the information I have here which one is going to work best for you, because some of you guys are aggressive and some of you guys are not as aggressive, and both of these prop firms allow you to do that with their different models. So why did I pick Funding Ticks? One, like I already said, they're backed by a verified prop firm, Funding Pips, which is literally one of the biggest prop firms in the forex space. Never had any denials. I've used them. I've made literally, I think, over 60,000 with Funding Pips alone. Another reason why is that the account size we're going to be using, which are the 50K account size. With Funding Ticks, they're actually fairly cheap. Well, you see with some prop firms in the futures, they have a lot of like activation fees. Literally, Funding Ticks, you literally pay between $90 to $100, depending if you're a new user. And if you use the code JEROTRADES, you can literally get 35% off if you're a new user. So that means you can get a 50K account challenge, right? And obviously, we're going to go into like the drawdown and things like that a bit later on. But you can literally get a 50K account size between $100 to $90, and you don't have to pay any activation fees, and that's it. Some prop firms obviously charge you an activation fee, so instead of just, you might pay less upfront, but then in total you're actually going to pay more, and that's going to go against our theme of $300 because we're working within a budget. We want to be able to maximize the budget. So the more accounts we can get within our budget, the better, because that's going to give us the most opportunity in terms of actually scaling to this 10K per month. They have a 40% consistency in the challenge phase, which means that the most you can make in order to pass the challenge, let's say for example their 50K account size, right? It's a $2,500 profit target. So that means if you have a 40% consistency rule, 40% of $2,500 is $1,000. So that means the most you can make within a single day in order to hit that 2,500 and pass is $1,000. So that kind of limits you in terms of what you can do as a trader. If you like to pass quick, this probably won't be the model for you, but if you're a trader, you find yourself that you actually don't mind the consistency rule, but then you care about scaling and being more aggressive in the funded stage so you can get the top end of your max payout. Funding Ticks will be a lot more suitable for you because they don't have a consistency rule, and which is great, which means that we can be a bit more aggressive, and using the scaling technique that I will show in this video, you will be able to scale into your trades while still keeping minimum risk and allow yourself to maximize your profits on the day so you can get the max payout. They have a 90% profit split, so whatever you make, you keep 90% of it, which is pretty cool. A lot of other prop firms have an 80% profit split. Some do a 90% profit split, but I'm starting to see a trend where the majority are now dropping to like that 80% profit split. You're limited to 5,000 max per payout cycle, which means that the most you can withdraw within a payout cycle is 5k, and you're only allowed to withdraw 50% of your profit. So that means that in order to be able to get 5k out, you need to make 10k, because you're only allowed to withdraw up to 50% of your profit. And in order to be eligible for a payout with funding ticks, because they never consider in the funded phase, you literally need 5 $150 days in order to be able to unlock a payout. And obviously the max funding you can get is 300k, so that means you can get up to 6 accounts. But because obviously we're working with our $300 budget, we're going to only be working with about 3 accounts at a time, and that's more than plenty in order to scale. And obviously as we scale, we could then increase that budget. And that's why I recommend funded ticks, because if you're a trader that does like to scale aggressively, obviously within the funded phase, obviously I do recommend not to be too aggressive and over leverage. There's a difference between over leveraging and smart scaling into your trades. So if you're a trader that likes to maximize how much you can make within a day, this is the perfect platform for you, compared to funded next futures where you're limited because of the 40% consistency rule. So if you make 5k in a day, you're then going to have to make almost 10k just to be able to get payout. With funding ticks, in this case, it is better in the sense that you're not bound and tied to how much you can make, and it's not going to affect when you can be able to pull your money out. And now with funded next futures, right, they're a bit different. So what we're going to be purchasing, right, is the 50k rapid account sizes. And the 50k rapid account sizes actually have a $3,000 profit target, compared to funding ticks, which have a $2,500 profit target. But it makes sense. So if you're a trader that literally doesn't like sitting in the challenge phase for so long, the rapid model allows you to be able to pass within a day. But then because they allow you to pass within a day, they have a consistency during the funded phase. So if you're someone that you find yourself, okay, you're good with being aggressive, like you like to be aggressive, you like to get in and out within the challenge phase, but then you actually find having a consistency rule actually helps you and your style of trading in the funded phase, because it actually helps control how aggressive you are, and then that in turn helps you become more consistent. This would be a better option for you, because by virtue of you having to meet the rule of the consistency, you have to stick to lower profit targets in order to get paid out quicker. So then lower profit targets are a lot easier to hit than higher profit targets, depending on how you trade. So the consistency rule can actually be a positive thing. And obviously they have an 8% profit split in the funded phase, so that means that you're gonna get 80% of what you make. The max payout they have per payout cycle is 1.5k, so the most you can withdraw within each cycle is 1,500, and you do that as soon as you meet the consistency rule. So there's no like minimum $150 days, minimum 100 days. As soon as you meet your consistency rule, let's say for example you make $1,000 in a day, so that means in order for you to meet the consistency rule, the 40% consistency rule, you need to make $2,500, because then that's 40% of $2,500 is 1,000, and then once you hit that, then you're able to pull out the 1.5k. The account costs are a bit more expensive with funding next future, so it does still allow us to meet our requirements of $300 max. So we're still able to purchase 2 accounts with this $150 per account, no activation fees. So yeah, those are the different factors within these models, and you just have to go with what you feel works best for your style of trading. Alright guys, as for the strategies as to how we're going to operate with these prop firms to actually get to this 10k per month, they're going to vary a little bit because of the rules, and we need to model ourselves depending on the rules. But starting off with funding ticks, what we're going to need to do is we're going to take out $300, right? And we're going to buy 3 50k Pro Plus accounts. And with those 3 50k Pro Plus accounts, we're going to have a 2,000 max loss, which means that the most we can lose on the account is 2,000. If we lose 2,000 on the account's gone. And the profit target in order to convert the account, in order to get to a funded account, is 2,500. So we need to make $2,500 profit target, and then we've passed. But you got to remember, they have a consistency rule. I am a person that advocates to pass challenges as fast as possible whilst maintaining a degree of risk management as much as possible. I did talk about it in my proven formula to beat prop firms. Go check that video out. But just to go over it very quickly, because we have a consistency rule we need to make in order to meet this profit target here, and the consistency rule is 40%. So that means that the most you can make in a day in order to pass as quickly as possible with a $2,500 profit target is $1,000. $1,000 one day, that's 40%. $1,000 2 day, that's another 40% consistency. And then the final day we make a $500, and then we've passed. The quickest we can pass the funding ticks account is within 3 days. So what I like to do, right, what I do recommend is that you take your drawdown and you divide your drawdown by 4. So that means you're going to have $500 risk per trade. And in order to meet the consistency rule of making $1,000 per day for 2 days and then $500 a day on the last day, it's very simple. You're going to take your $500 risk $500 to make 1,000, so that's a cool 2 to 1. That's quite low hanging fruit depending on your strategy. And once you make the $1,000, you move on to the next stage. You risk another $500 a day to make another 1,000, and then if you pass that stage, you risk another $500 to make $500. So it will turn to a 1 to 1, or you can risk $250 to make $500 to turn into 2 to 1. and then you've passed. But what happens? Oh no, Gerald, what happens if you take a loss? Well, it's very simple. You half your risk. So say if you take your first trade and you take a loss, once you take that loss, you're going to half your risk. Instead of risking $500 in your next trade, you're going to risk $250 in your next trade, and you're going to aim to make back the $500 you lost, and then you start the cycle again. Very, very simple. And that's going to allow us to paddle through the challenge phase very fast, and you're going to see your success rate with actually passing challenges in order to get to a place where you can actually start making money with the prop firms is going to be cut dramatically just by following this process. And remember, we're doing this simultaneously. These 3 accounts are copied on the copy trader on Tradervert. It's very simple to set that up. You can look that up on YouTube. So when you're passing these accounts, you're passing them all at once. So let's say we get to the funder phase now. Because they have this unlimited potential that there's no consistency or funding tick, a lot of people get sold the dream of that, oh shit, I need to make $15,000, $20,000 in a day in order to make money. No, we've gotten 3 accounts through, we've passed the challenges, right? And this is where a lot of you guys fuck up because you don't know how to slow down in the funded phase. And if you don't know how to slow down the funded phase, and by slow down I simply mean the element of over leveraging. A lot of you guys like to get in the funded phase and then you forget all about your risk management and your rules in terms of actually trading, and then you find yourself over leveraging. You find yourself you're risking $1,000 in a trade and then you blow it in 2 trades, you've blown up. No, that's not what we're trying to do. When I say slow down, I mean you need to reduce your risk, stick base hits, and by stick base hits I mean, okay, you can aim for low and hanging fruit, and that means, let's say if you're risking $400 per trade, right, cool, you can aim for $800. But also by sticking base hits I mean keep your risk the same, but also don't cut yourself short in terms of winning trades, guys. The best thing about funding ticks, if it suits your personality, is that you're able to maximize how much you can win on a day. And this is going to make a lot more sense when I show you the scaling technique. But for example, let's say you're risking $400 per trade and you're risking, I don't know, 20 points per trade. So that's what? One contract, right? You're trading one contract, risking 20 points on the trade. And let's say your target is 100 points away. You can take that trade, but then the way you manage the trade is going to allow you to maximize how much money you're going to make, because by simply then allowing that trade to hit full take profit and then controlling the risk as the trade goes more in profit for you, you're actually being super conservative in terms of your risk but maximizing your potential. And that's the key here with funding ticks, because they give you the potential that there's no consistency rule. And that's very important if we're trying to get to this 10k a month, because if you think about it, right, we're copy trading 3 accounts and we have that 100-point target on our trade, risking 20 points. If that trade hits take profit, we've made $2,000 per account, and then that times 3, that means we've just made $6,000 for the day. That is amazing, because we're actually increasing the cushion so we can then increase the risk per trade as we get more in profit and as we grow our balance. And that's just going to allow you to then make more money whilst increasing your risk, but your risk compared to how much you have in your balance is not going to be so insignificantly disproportionate that you're over leveraging. Does that make sense? And another thing that I always advocate for is the 30% rule. And whenever you're on a winning day, right, because you could be on a winning streak, and if you're cutting yourself short, that's the worst thing you can do with a prop from like funding ticks. So what I like to do is that, let's say I'm winning on the day, let's say I'm up $1,000 on the day, right, and let's say that was it for the trade, and let's say another opportunity shows up in the day and I want to take the opportunity, instead of saying, okay, I'm walking on, I'm done for the day, I want to maximize momentum, because you could be in a winning streak and you've just killed your momentum and you don't know whether you're winning streak or not. So I like to maximize momentum, and I do that by using the 30% rule. And the 30% rule is very simple. We're literally going to take that $1,000 away for the day. 30% off that is what we're going to use on that next trade if it shows up on the day. So we're going to take that $300 risk on that trade, and then we're going to continuously do that. If that trade hits take profit, cool, we're going to continuously risk 30% of our P&L whilst actually maximizing our profits on the day. And then if we do take a loss, we stop trading. By virtue of you just doing that, you're going to find yourself that you're going to be maximizing the most you can make on a day. And that's very important, because if we have 3 accounts, right, guys, we're trying to get to this 10k per month. We can have one trade risking $400 that allows us to profit $2,000, $1,500, right? Cool. If we've made $1,500 on a day, right, times by 3 because we're copy trading the accounts, that's the power of copy trading. We've just made $4,500 on a day. All we need to do in order to get that 10k per month, we just need to make $5,000 per account within the month, and we're literally up 15,000, and we then obviously take 50% off that, which would be 7,500. And all that literally takes is literally about $1,250 a week. And you see how by maximizing your RR on a trade, you can easily hit $1,200 in a week. You can easily go over that and maximize your profits by just using the 30% rule. And that's just going to allow you to stack your profits and scale aggressively while still being conservative in terms of how much you're actually risking on trades. And that's the key here, because once we get that and we get to that payout, right, we're able to make $1,250 in a week, and we're able to get to a payout. We've just paid ourselves $7,500, guys. And think about it. All that took was $300. And what we're going to do, because remember, they have a 300K max funding. We're only working with 3 accounts here. What we're going to do, we're going to buy more accounts and we're going to scale that way. And then before you know it, you're aiming for $1,000 or $1,200 a week has now turned to $20,000, $25,000 a month. Do you see how it scales quite quickly if you do things the right way? And that's what I want to stress here. Do things the right way. Now, you might be thinking, oh no, Gerald, you're only emphasizing in the event that you pass the first time. Well, yes, if you pass the first time, that's what's going to work. And what happens if you don't pass the first time? You go again. That's the whole point, guys. You try again, you go hustle, you make money, and you try again. And you keep doing it until you pass, and you keep adjusting and learning if you're making mistakes. But if you follow everything I showed you in this video, you shouldn't be making too many mistakes, and you should be able to pass fairly quickly. Of course, you might not pass first time, but some of you are going to pass first time, and then that's how you scale. The important thing is that you're going to go back, hustle, man. Hey, that's it. We're here to make money. We're here to grind. If it doesn't happen the first time, don't give up. Don't knock yourself. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Rinse and repeat. And then eventually it's going to work, and you're going to be able to scale. And before you know it, you're going to be floating 20,000. And I know some of you guys are going to make fucking 5K per account the first day or the first week, and then you're up 15,000. But hey, each their own. I only can recommend what I think is conservative and what allows you to maximize to get to that 10K per month, because we're not doing 10K per day or 5K per day. That's totally different. That's a totally different system we'd have to use for that. That's how you can easily scale to 10K per month with $300 with funding ticks, because it's very simple. And you're going to find yourself, you're going to be consistently getting paid out. And once you do get to pay out, don't be aggressive and try to take more than you need. Pay yourself, because there's nothing worse than being eligible for a payout and then fucking up an account because you just didn't listen and stick to the rules. All right, now for the funded next futures, it's a bit different now, because obviously we're working with rapid accounts. We can pass in one day. So what we're going to do, because we're working out with our $300 budget, we're going to buy 2 accounts because they're $150 per account, right? Cool. We're going to buy 2 accounts, right? Our max loss is $2,000 on the account, and our profit target is $3,000, which is a bit higher than funding ticks, but hey, that's okay. We have the benefit of being able to pass in one day, and it's very simple. We're going to pass the challenge phase fairly fast. We do have to tweak a little bit here. So we're going to take our Jordan again, divided by 4. We have $500 risk per trade, but instead of just aim for 2 to 1, because remember, we don't have a consistency rule like we did here in funding ticks, we're going to try and maximize the risk to reward depending on our strategy. So if you can make a 4 to 1, a 3 to 1 on a trade, and that's still conservative for your model, and that's still achievable for your model, do it, because that's going to allow you to then scale through and pass very quickly while still maintaining a degree of risk. You don't need to actually increase how much you're risking per trade in order to maximize how much you can make on a trade. You just work with higher RTR. So work on maximizing the R, and that's just going to allow you to fly through the challenge phase quickly. You might even see that it might catch a banger. If you're trading NQ, you can catch a banger 6 to 1 risking $500 per trade, and you've passed the entire challenge in one day and in one trade. But if you don't, it's fine. You aim for a 3 to 1. 2 trades you can pass, and you keep it moving. If you take a loss, you half your risk, make back $500 there, and you start again. And just keep things very simple this way, and you're going to find you're going to be able to get through these accounts fairly quickly while still not over leveraging yourself that you blow the account in one trade. And now in the funded phase, again, this is where it becomes super important to slow down and dial fucking risk back, guys, here, because here's different. We have a consistency rule, so that means if you try and aim for too much in a day, how much you're going to have to make in order for it to get payout is actually going to increase. When it comes to trading funded next, you need to be very careful with that. That's why I said, if you're someone who sees that you tend to be over aggressive and that actually works against you, trading with funded next actually helps you control that risk, because you know you have to stick to the rules if you want to get paid. So I like to keep it very simple with funded next futures, right? Again, we're copy trading all our accounts. We're going to be risking $400 per trade to make $1,000. And the reason why I say make $1,000 is because after 3 days you'd have made $3,000, and if you have 3 winning days, you've made $3,000, right? After those 3 $1,000 days, we're going to be eligible to take a payout because we've hit our consistency threshold. And you're going to see that by you guys doing it this way, you're going to get to pay out much faster than trying to make $5,000, $3,000 there, because that's actually going to hurt you. And the more you make, the further you push your target in order to get paid. And remember, we want to get paid there. So we make $1,000 or $1,200 a day, we stop trading for the day. We're done. We don't need to do any more because we want to get paid. And what's going to happen is that you're going to get to a stage where you can get payout. We're going to pay ourselves. So we're going to pay ourselves $1,500, and then we're going to use that to actually get more accounts. So now we're going to scale to try get 4 more rapid accounts. By virtue of you doing that, one, you're going to put your $1,500 out, and you're actually going to have $1,500 left as a balance in order for you to grow again. And then you repeat the same process. You maybe dial back the risk because you actually have a little bit less drawdown, but you repeat the process and you keep doing this. You're actually going to be able to scale pretty fast, and it's only a matter of time until you're having 6 accounts that is making $1,500 a payout, and within the month you'll be hitting that 10k per month just by being smart and aggressive the right way and paying ourselves, because paying ourselves is the most important thing. It's not real until it's the bank. If we pay ourselves, we're able to have more money to play with, and then that's how you scale, and that's how you get to this 10k per month. I don't want to say easy, but you see how it's so achievable to go from $300 to 10k per month. It's just about breaking things down in a systematic way and now applying ourselves. Now, for the scaling strategy, I did promise to show you guys. This mainly kind of applies to funding ticks because it allows you to maximize how much you make in a day. All right, cool. So what is this scaling technique and how does it work? If our goal is to maximize the profit we have in a trade idea, it's very simple. We can do that without the need to over leverage our accounts, because a lot of people think in order to maximize how much I can make in a trade, I need to risk more. But no, the key is actually controlling the degree of risk you have in a trade while the trade progresses. So what do I mean by controlling the degree of risk you have as the trade progresses? It all comes from an idea of you understand where price wants to reach for ultimately, and you understand where you're currently trading at in price. So for example, let's say it was the right time of day, it was 9:30 New York Open, we're trading NQ, right? And we see price trading to a key level. So we enter on this key level, right? And let's say for that trade, we wanted to risk our classic $400 for the trade. Very simple. So that means that we could have been trading with a 40-point stop loss, which is quite reasonable if you're trading NQ at 9:30 because it's quite volatile. So that means we're going to be trading 5 micros risk for this trade. So you get in on your trade here, right? You understand what price is ultimately reaching for. Price then shows you that it's willing to move away from that key level. This is when you start thinking, okay, I know price is reaching much lower. This is a bearish example, of course. I know price is reaching much lower. It's turned around at that key level at that right time of day where I'm anticipating price to turn around from. Price showed me market structure shift. You're already in the trade here. What I've found that worked best for me and what allows me to then be able to scale aggressively is that as I see price show me willingness to go low, because by it giving me a market structure shift here, that's giving me confidence that price actually wants to go lower. Once I see price retrade here, I'm not looking at it from a point of, oh no, my stop is going to get hit, or oh no, the trade is now going to trade against me. Because I'm trading from a perspective of, I know price wants to reach lower, I have an ultimate target. This retrade here is actually an opportunity to actually scale in. So what I would usually do is I would go in again with 5 micros, and what I'll do is I'll simply take my stop loss that I originally had and bring it into break even from my initial trade. And by break even I mean because I've added another 5 micros here. So instead of risking $800, I want to risk $400. I still want to keep my risk the same. So by trading my stop of the original trade, I'm able to then use the same risk and put a break even stop loss and still maintain the same risk of 400. And what does that do? That allows me to now, as price progresses now, I now have 1 mini instead of just 5 macro. Instead of just sitting in here and riding this whole thing here, I now have 1 mini in my trade risk while still risking the same dollar. So as price progresses to reach this ultimate target here, I've now doubled what I initially would have made just by adjusting and managing my stop loss. So price gives another market structure break as price trades in again. You want to be scaling in to your position and reducing your stop so you're always maintaining that $400 risk. And before you know is that you're going to be so scaled into the fucking trade that you've literally just tripled or doubled what you would have made as compared to when you just initially kept that one single trade. The amount of money you're going to be making per trade is going to increase while still keeping the risk the same. I hope you guys found value in this video. If you did, let me know in the comments below what you found valuable. Let me know what you're struggling with as a prop firm trader, what videos you would like to see from me. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.